And for that reason, I have signed the pledge.
Yeah.
So I will be totally pledging my allegiance to the Republican Party and the conservative principles for which it stands.
Well, I'm going to have to see what happens. I will see what happens. I have to be treated fairly. You know, when I did this, I said I have to be treated fairly. If I'm treated fairly, I'm fine. All I want to do is a level playing field.
Well, that was presidential candidate Donald Trump on what some are saying is a flip-flop on his pledge to the Republican Party not to make a third-party run. Now, in our latest Fox News poll, Donald Trump has widened his lead in the GOP race. He's at 28% of voters, while Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz both increased 3 percentage points and overtake Ben Carson, tied for the #2 spot. Now, Trump, well, he continues to soar in popularity, and that would you wonder why he even would bring up a third-party threat. Joining me now, Mark Serrano, Proactive Communications CEO and GOP strategist, and back with me, Tammy Bruce. Mark, why is Donald Trump talking third party again?
Well, because on Friday, the Wall Street Journal reported that a former Republican National Committee operative is forming an LLC called Trump Card LLC to raise millions of dollars to fight him, to prevent him from becoming the nominee. So, frankly, this is unprecedented. I mean, can you imagine Mitt Romney having faced an LLC formed and raising millions of dollars to fight his nomination 4 years ago? It's unprecedented, and so I'm really not surprised at all that Trump would threaten this once again. Well,
but hold on one second, Mark. I don't get this. All these guys, they buy airtime. The PACs buy airtime. Where is this unfair? Don't they go after each other all the time, either in social media or through marketing or through, campaigns, face-to-face campaigns? Yeah, no doubt, Charles. I mean, look, primary campaigns are a messy affair, okay? And they are ugly and they're dirty, and running ads negative ads is going to take place remarkably. But you've got the establishment lining up against Trump in particular. So it appears as if establishment candidates might not support their pledge that they signed as well a few months ago. It's an unprecedented focus on the front runner. It's one thing to fight your opponent, but it's another thing to team up like this so early in the process. Tammy, what do you make of it?
Well, look, I think it's interesting that, and he's right, he said if I was treated fairly, but this is rough and tumble. The world's going to be rough and tumble. The winner is going to be the person who wins, right? I think that it's also a sign of weakness on the side of the establishment. If they want to win over the American people, they can win us over, as opposed to just trying to chop down the people who are appealing to us. But more than that, it's saying you're going to run as a third party is one thing. Doing it is quite another. This is not something that you just do, right? He doesn't really have any kind of genuine campaign structure, and to be able to run independently in every state requires something that he doesn't even really have.
He could throw his hat in the ring as a third-party candidate, do all of his interviews from Trump Tower, and still be a spoiler for the GOP.
Well, you could, and you could write his name in. He might tell people to stay home. My concern about Mr. Trump is that he is too close to the Clintons. He holds many liberal views, and I've worried about him being a deliberate spoiler from the beginning. I've running back and forth on him, but we have to. He's got to grow up here a little bit and stick with.
Mark, I know you're champing at the bit, but we've run out of time. We'll try and bring this back up later on in the show.
Okay,
also, guys, yesterday Donald Trump, and also today, yesterday and today, he defended that he saw thousands of Arab Americans in Jersey City that they were actually cheering when the Twin Towers fell. It was just one of several controversial comments and tweets that he made over the week. And I got to tell you, I agree with some of them and not with the others. We got a lot to talk about. We'll be right back.
I watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering as that building was coming down. Thousands of people were cheering.
Well, that was Donald Trump at a rally on Saturday discussing Muslims in America celebrating the 9/11 attacks. Now, Trump actually repeated his comments on ABC's This Week.
Of New Jersey, where you have large Arab populations, they were cheering as the World Trade Center came down. I know it might be not politically correct for you to talk about it, but there were people cheering as that building came down, as those buildings came down.
Joining me now, Christian White and former Bush State Department Senior Advisor Mark Serrano, Jillian Melcher, and Tammy Bruce back with me. Before I go to you guys, I'll also tell you, and I tweeted this, maybe I'm tripping, but I could have sworn I saw the same thing. Although I Googled all weekend long, could not find the actual footage of it, Christian. Was I tripping, or what's going on here?
I think so. There's just no documentary evidence that that happened. I've talked to people who were in New York and New Jersey that day. It did, of course, happen in the Palestinian areas, in Hamas, in Gaza, in the West Bank. They were cheering our misfortune. But in the United States, this is a problem with Donald Trump. He takes a potentially serious issue, the radicalization of people, the spread of radical Islam, and makes it trivial. It's like Joe McCarthy going after communists. He discredited the work of serious communist hunters. And when Donald Trump says these things that just have no basis in fact and no evidence to back them up, it really undermines those of us who want to get tough on radical Islam.
I guess it's urban lore, because you know what? I was here, Mark. I was driving down the West Side Highway. I watched the second tower come down. My office is a block away from there. And again, I could recall seeing that. If someone were to ask me if I saw it, I would have said yes. So I don't know how this became such a large part of sort of urban myth. But does it hurt Donald Trump that he's not walking it back?
Well, Charles, let's take a look at the facts, though. On September 18, 2001, the Washington Post ran a story where they did say that the police were interrogating people who were celebrating from Jersey City and tailgating that night. Muslims in Jersey City were. Now, were there thousands? No, the article doesn't say that. But that is in the September 18th article.
Right.
But let me just take a look at where this is coming from, Charles. The left in the media Democrat complex wants to destroy Donald Trump, and they're doing something else. They're distracting from the fact that Barack Obama has an abysmal record with minority populations and empowering them. The other issue.
Well, one second, Mark. Let me just bring the rest of the panel in, because Jillian, the author of that Washington Post article that Mark's talking about said that it was alleged that this happened, that there was never any police confirmation of it. So again, I'm not sure where we are, but Donald Trump brings these things up himself, and then his followers are left to sort of defend him.
Well, I think we can't play fast and loose with the facts here. 9/11 was an emotional day. It does stick in our memory that somewhere in the world Muslims were cheering this on, which we did see happen in Palestine. But it comes down to the point where what he said, thousands of people out there cheering in support, objectively did not happen. Now, if it were just a mistake this one time, I'd maybe think it was okay, but this is him playing fast and loose with the truth, if not outright lying repeatedly. I think he's got a history here.
Here's the thing, though, Tammy. I swear I could have made the same tweet, because I had the same recollection, but I couldn't find the evidence of it.
Well, look, this is the issue about recollection, and he says he saw it. I'm going to believe him that he saw it. He may have, at the same time, when we think back about memories of memories, maybe he was seeing imagery out of the West Bank and hearing audio from the radio about what was happening in Jersey City. That could have happened as well. But I don't think he doesn't need to make up something that dramatic, and I think that he remembers it that way. But this is what the media prefers to have people talking about, as opposed to the terrorism that's happening now.
Again, if he brings it up, the media is going to jump on it. You live by the sword, die by the sword. One of his greatest attributes is that he talks off the cuff, right? Also, sometimes maybe tweets off the cuff, because some critics are calling one of Donald Trump's tweets over the weekend racist. There was a report about black-on-black crime and killings, and there was a false statistic on one that said 81% of white murder victims were killed by black offenders. According to the FBI, the number is under 15%. And so far, we haven't heard Donald Trump talk about this or not. Also, some people are saying that the original tweet was posted by a user with a neo-Nazi logo in their profile picture. And the source, by the way, of the stats is an organization that doesn't exist. Now, I will also tell you guys, I have in the past mistakenly retweeted dubious things, and people have come down hard on me on the internet, but I've always apologized for it. And I guess that's where we go from here, Mark. Donald Trump, will there come a point where maybe he makes a mistake, an honest mistake, and says, yeah, I messed up, I apologize?
Well, look, this guy is so underestimated. I mean, if you look at the new Fox poll, 68% of Republicans who were in that poll support an outsider.
I'm just saying,
Donald
if you make a tweet that's incendiary, claiming that all 80% of white people who are murdered by blacks in this country, don't you think that's offensive to some group of people in this country and should be addressed, or maybe they don't count?
Well, I think, like you said, Charles, you know, sometimes you retweet things that you needed to source better, okay? So, you know, sure, perhaps he needs to acknowledge, hey, we shouldn't have sent that tweet out. But does that make him a racist? And where does this come from? It comes from the media complex that wants to destroy Republicans. Every time they call a Republican a sexist or a racist, the Republican backs down. He cowers. This is a guy who will not cower. He's going to push back every time because he's a fighter. And those Republican voters want to see a fighter.
I got you, but you know what? If you tweet out something that's incendiary, even on the verge of being hateful, you might want to apologize, Christian. I'm just saying, I know the mainstream media doesn't want the Republicans to win, but does it make sense for the Republicans to make the mainstream media's job even easier?
That's right. Donald Trump may not cower, but he's going to give the mainstream media and the Democratic Party all of the ammunition they need to keep the White House. When you go and say ludicrous things, first of all, this is the reason, having been on a few campaigns, why people have staff so you can check things out and so you can demonstrate that you're qualified to be president, because you certainly wouldn't want a president to shoot from the hip. But look at this issue, saying just incorrectly that 80% of white murder victims are killed by blacks when the number is 14%, which is closely in line with their percentage of the public. I mean, this is taking away from a serious issue, the issue of violence, or black-on-black violence for that matter. Look what just happened in New Orleans. So are we going to talk about how you can curb that violence and the breakdown of the black family and how public schools are failing? No, we're just going to give talking points to the liberals.
I tell you what, the black-on-black slaughter is such a major, major issue. I wish that the Republicans in general would focus on it, but I wish Obama would focus on it as well. Thank you guys very, very much.